Every year as the leaves turn brown and the air gets cold, I dream of big whitetail and fully blue mallards working my decoys. But neither of those two types of hunting compare to the sound of a gobbler in the spring. Hunting has been a way of life ever since the beginning of time. Our ancestors would gather and kill and bring food back to their families, and that was just a way of life for them. Hunters, along with hunting organizations, have put a lot of money and effort into providing large tracts of land for the public hunter. Not only is there public land, but these organizations have come together and provided refuges for these animals to feel safe and to have a habitat where they can have offspring safely, which helps replenish their numbers whenever their season's over with and most of them have been killed. Without these organizations, a lot of wildlife would decrease drastically. Many people go hunting, but today I'm going to inform you on why these organizations are important and a lot more than just a bunch of rednecks like to shoot stuff. First, I'll explain each of the three main organizations, or three main ones that I feel are important. Second, I'll explain the benefits that each of these organizations bring. And lastly, I'll talk about why hunting is an important part of our culture. First, I'll explain, I'll talk about the Sportsman Alliance Club. According to www.sportsmanalliance.org, which I discovered on October 4th, 2019, they explained that in the 1970s, many people were trying to ban hunting, so a group of business officials joined together to create a Sportsman Alliance organization and keep hunting alive, as well as fishing and trapping. The organization first started in 1977 when an issue occurred in Ohio with their trapping laws, and it just grew from there and has built itself into what it is now. Originally, the group was named Wildlife Legislative Fund of America and Wildlife Conservation Fund of America, but it was later renamed the Sportsman Alliance Foundation. Another great organization is www.ducks.org, which is Ducks Unlimited. That's their organization they have. Who is a leader in waterfowl management with over 11 million acres of conservation land for ducks to find refuge in. All of this land has been bought and managed since the start of Ducks Unlimited in January 1937. Millions of ducks gather to these refuges each year and breed and host their offspring, which is very important because a lot of them get killed on their flyway down to migrate in the winter. And when they go back up north, it's typically when they breed and have their offspring. So without these tracts of land for them to be safe and be away from hunters and like harm from people, their numbers would drop quite a bit. Ducks Unlimited has hundreds, maybe even thousands of different scientific study groups, and they all have specific jobs. These groups make up a large team of conservationists who are all dedicated to the preservation of waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. A good example of that is one group's dedicated to their migration pattern, one group's dedicated to banding, and banding is a thing that organization does, and some others do, where they grab ducks when they're young and put a metal band around their legs and monitor where they go. Typically when they're killed or either found dead, it shows the date they were banded, how old the bird was, the sex, and the species, or the breed, not the breed, I guess the scientific name of that bird, because there's multiple kinds of ducks. So it just tells you everything about it, where it's from, how long it's traveled, which is neat, because as a hunter, you like to know more about your game than just killing it and eating it. You almost kind of want a sense of connection with your animal if you're a true sportsman and do care about more than just killing. So that's a cool thing that these organizations do. Thirdly, we have the National Wildlife Turkey Federation, which is www.nwtf.org. This organization has been dedicated to increasing turkey numbers across North America since 1973. When the National Wild Turkey Federation first started, there were approximately 1.3 million wild turkeys in North America, and now there's over 7 million. So it just tells you what happens when you monitor turkey hunting and set bag limits and create land for them to refuge and repopulate. The NWTF in total has raised over $488 million in the years and has over 100,000 members who help contribute every year to the cause. And a lot of times these organizations, they'll have memberships online where you can go and you join each year, and it's a certain amount of money. And every time you join, that money goes towards that organization and towards those tracts of land to help monitor the turkeys and help create more land for them to refuge in, which is big time. So the more members, the better. Since they started in 1973, they have managed over 17 million acres conducting research on different species of turkeys native to the United States. Now that I've named off three of the biggest hunting organizations, it's time for me to explain why they're important and what they do exactly, which I guess I've already done that some. Before you say hunting is bad or that these organizations just want money, it's important to understand exactly what they do for wildlife, like I said earlier. The Sportsman Alliance actively supported the Common Sense Amendments and the Endangered Species Act, which protected endangered species from coast to coast. Over time, the organization focused on hunter harassment and the issues we had as hunters, and still currently kind of have. A big issue back then, it's still kind of an issue now, but people would literally used to go find hunters out in the field and harass them for hunting animals and killing wildlife because they thought it was wrong. Everyone's got their opinion, but it is against the law to harass people, so this is a big issue. So it came in play back in the day where they set a law so that way people couldn't go and harass hunters for doing something they love. And the Sportsman Alliance played a huge role in that. Ducks Unlimited has been one of the most key organizations when it comes down to increasing population numbers of a species. If you search for Ducks Unlimited website, you'll find the article, or find a bunch of articles on how and what they do. Let's see. Without these organizations, there's no telling what the wildlife population would be with each species. And an example of why being a hunter is important and buying your license each year, I have mine over here, right here. I buy one of these each year, and every time I buy, it donates money to these organizations. I have to buy a duck stamp, a federal and a state duck stamp, which goes to the state and these organizations to help produce more land and help provide better lives for these animals. And I've basically gone over all the pros and cons of why hunting and hunting organizations are good. And everyone's got their own opinions, but my personal opinion is it's good for us, it's good for the animals, it helps regulate, and you're not going to change my mind. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
That was good, sir.